we could very well be on the verge of a hunger crisis all over this world. I want to share with you some research and the nation so we can understand what this Ukraine Russia situation is causing. Today, Russia alone is producing more than 2/3 of the 20 million metric tons of fertilizer used to grow corn and wheat around the world. One country producing 66% of the fertilizer that is needed. And when you combine Ukraine and Russia, also, these are the two largest exporters of wheat, corn, and barley, producing a quarter of the world's wheat in these two countries, making this impact a crisis of soaring magnitude when you have this much and these two countries are warring each other. So I want to sound the alarm on this. I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you, Chairman Powell, the disruptions and rising prices from these commodities will destabilize global food markets and threaten our food stability and social stability. So my question to you, Mr. Chairman Powell, to what extent could these developments create a financial stability risk here at home and abroad? And what must we do? We can go without a lot of things in this world, but the one thing we cannot go without is food. And when you have this much power on our food security for the world in the hands of these two countries warring each other at this time, what can you do about it?
Sir, I think your point is very well taken, and I think it's shipping, it's corn, it's wheat, as you pointed out, it's fertilizer, and we see that getting into food prices and into the food supply just in these early days after the sanctions have been put in place and the war less than 2 weeks old now. The Fed doesn't really have the tools to address this. This is really a matter for Congress and the administration, I think. But you're right to pay attention to it, and I do think that this is understood and understood that help will be needed.
Okay, let's get it. All right, guys, today we're going to be going over the crypto market. We also going to be going over Brazil and Pakistan. Are they getting into crypto, and what could this mean for the market? We also going to go over the cryptocurrencies and see if we can make a play. All right, guys, if you're new to the channel, my name is Rod the Water God. I give you up-to-date information on crypto news and coins that are about to boom. Okay, so if you like hearing information like that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, so let's get right into it. Okay, so Brazil. Okay, this just broke that Brazil Central Bank selects 9 CBDC projects to move forward in innovation challenge. So we're seeing Brazil doing their first jumping into what coins that they feel like, that they're going digital with. So here they got Ave, okay? They got Banco Brazil, okay? They got Fibrabrin, never heard of these before. Deriviant. They got some 12 that probably in their country that they're probably pushing, but the one that I do know of is Aave. Okay, Aave is an open source non-custodial liquidity protocol whose CDC project deals with forming a liquidity pool for offering loans. So they offer loans, and that's one that I'm more familiar with. But any of these, I'm not. But it's good for the crypto market. Okay, so my point that I wanted to say with these countries is it's something big going on with crypto. Okay, because Pakistan just signed trade deal with Russia. All right, so we know that Russia is going into crypto because they have sanctions. Okay, so I did a little digging and I was to find the GDP. Look at the top 15 countries. And if we look, we know that, the U.S. is at $20 trillion. Okay, it's all of these trillions here, okay, from the top 15. And if we look at the crypto market, it's only at 1.83. Okay, trillion. So if you was to put that here, they'll be right below Italy. Okay, so the question is, can they get to 10 to 20 million market cap? Okay, we know that Russia, if Brazil get on, if these trillions can come through, and this could be easily 10 trillion if you're looking at from India down, could be at least, 10 to 15 trillion. If these countries could go to crypto, it could mean significant for the market. Now, we don't know when that'll happen, but it could happen, okay? So let's look at Bitcoin and see what Bitcoin is doing right now. We see we're at 41,000. Looks like we're getting a little push. We had a little resistance down here at the close to the $40,000 mark. Looks like a strong resistance here. And it looks like we got strong resistance around that 45,000 mark. So, is that a good buying zone, selling zone for right now? May look like it, okay? Around that 40,000 is a good to buy, and probably around 45,000 is a good place that you could be taking profits. It looks like that resistance is right there right now. So we'll see where Bitcoin going is, but we can see that there's definitely a resistance around this 40,000 mark. And if we look a little further, yeah, it's just been moving up and up. So guys, Bitcoin is pretty much looking pretty good right now. All right. These resistance that's at 40,000 is very good to see. And we'll see what's going on in the future. But as we see the crypto market, guys, we got Ethereum looks like a good buy-in price right there at 2,700. And will all of these countries, what would it look like if all of these countries here could get, totally into crypto? So, guys, make sure you leave me a comment on what you think. Okay, and I'm not saying all of their money. Let's just say 50% of whatever their GDP was just banked, through crypto, which I think one day will happen. All right, so guys, give me your thoughts. Give me what you think about it. That's it for the news with crypto today. I'm gonna definitely let y'all check out this video with Jerome Powell of what he was saying about crypto. So check this out. Leave me a comment. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Check and monitor these things, and in a world where those same systems have transaction speed limits, essentially. Do you think in that world a public ledger is a good or sort of less good way to launder money or avoid sanctions?
I don't want to. I'm not an expert on sanctions, and so I'm reluctant to comment on that in the context of sanctions, just because it's not our field. And I would say public transaction, there's a balance you have to strike between privacy, which is very important, but also the ability of law enforcement to, and national security to track payments. And I think to the extent that cryptocurrencies are a means by which you can evade both law enforcement and national security concerns, then that's not something we should tolerate. Our objective, we're going to use our tools, we're going to raise our interest rates, and we're going to shrink our balance sheet over the course of this year. As I mentioned, during this critical phase of global events, we're going to do that with care, and we'll always move with care, but particularly now. And that's how it works. We remove accommodation, and the very high levels of demand that are to some extent a result of our accommodative policy. Those rates will go up. And take housing, for example. The housing market should cool off. It's very, very hot right now, and that should happen broadly in the economy over time. We talk about getting to neutral, which is a neutral rate, which would be somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. It may well be that we need to go higher than that. We just don't know, and we don't know what events will intervene in the meantime. But we haven't faced this challenge in a long time, but we all know the history, and we all know what we need to do. I also do think, and I think it's more likely than not, that we can achieve what we call a soft landing, and they're far more common in our history than is generally understood, and that would be what you described, which is get inflation back under control without a recession.
Yeah. Well, some of us in this room remember the 80s. Some of us in this room remember the 80s and what it was like.
When we make a decision about interest rates, or frankly even talk about a decision to raise interest rates, markets pick it up like that. Financial conditions have already tightened. We haven't actually lifted off from zero, but as of a week ago, the market was pricing in, literally already reflected in financial conditions to some extent, 6 or 7 rate increases. Now, it's less than that now, and we haven't made decisions to do that yet, but our decisions get into financial conditions very quickly. It does take time, of course, for that to affect economic activity, and that's where you get 3 months to longer than that. I think by the end of a year, much of the effect is generally thought to be in. So, but that time period has already started because monetary policy really works through expectations, and we're now expecting rate increases, and they've already happened in effect, and we have to ratify them, of course.
Yeah, we're seeing them. Finally, in the past year.
Let me word it this way. How sweeping do you foresee the ripple effects through the U.S. financial system? Is there an effect on us as those actions take place?
With big actions like this, there may well be unintended and unexpected effects, and hard to say what those might be. In the economic sphere, you're seeing, not directly to your question, but we're seeing concerns over palladium and neon and corn and wheat, shortages of those potentially, but so it would be difficult to say exactly what the effects could be over time. The United States, our financial institutions and our economy do not have large interactions with the Russian economy. It's a relatively small thing, and it's gotten smaller and smaller in recent years. So there wouldn't be, direct effects from these kind of things on the U.S. economy. It's hard to think what the second order effects might be.
I'll note that CEOs from Kimberly-Clark to Tyson Foods have bragged to investors about their power to raise prices without facing competition. And last night, President Biden said, and I quote, "Lower your costs, not your wages." And my constituents were glad to hear that. So, Chairman, can you explain how raising interest rates will lower prices for diapers or chicken? Last time it was because my neighbors lost their jobs and couldn't find diapers or chicken.